Hi guys and girls on YouTube, and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be looking at this Toshiba model number C-1480 portable TV that I got from John Joe on the Odge Nodge Irish Vintage TV and Radio channel. Now it's in quite good condition. As you can see, it's fitted, it says black stripe, so it's obviously fitted with a Toshiba black stripe tube. The only bad thing about it I see is it's actually got electronic tuning. So if we open that up there, you can actually search electronically and store the channels individually. Now the only bad thing about that is I probably won't have any spare chips for that if there's any problem with that. But and I can't find the service manual for it. I've got a feeling I've got it somewhere. But it's going to be such a big job to look that we're just going to take a look off the back, take the back off and have a look what's wrong with it first. Now the first thing I noticed is there's been some burning around the live pin. Now that can't have come from this telly because it only draws 67 watts, so that's probably just a plug that's been fitted on it just to try it. Now I've no idea what's wrong with it. So we'll take a look round the back and then we'll have a look inside first before we plug it in. Right, so that's the back view of the telly. The first thing you'll notice is there's no user controls sticking out the back. That's the model number there, C-1480. I'm not sure of the year, probably mid 1980s I would have thought, but I could probably look up a diagram for this in my radio and TV servicing book. So let's get the back off it and have a look inside. Right, so that's the inside view with the back off. It's Toshiba black stripe 370 DJB22 CRT. Now the first thing you'll notice if we look in the back here is actually the pattern of dust. Now this pattern indicates that this set has been out in the rain somewhere, probably not for very long, but it's probably been picked up at the side of somebody's dustbin, I would have thought, and we've got the same pattern of dust inside. You can see where the dust has actually washed away with the water and left patches, but apart from that it seems complete. It's in very good looking condition. The line output transformers of course sealed, so we won't need to worry about drying this out. Yeah, you can see the pattern of dust there. In fact, it looks remarkably similar, the actual chassis layout and these stripy lines indicating frame, all different bits and pieces. It actually looks like a Hinari CT4, I think the model was. And this board here standing up, that reminds me very much of a rank chassis, the rank Toshiba chassis, and I'm sure it used that same colour decoder. I think it might have been the T24, but it was the set that was produced by Toshiba, and it just wore a rank Bush Murphy name on the front. Another thing about this is we can see we've got a mains transformer, so we've got a simple linear regulator with two high wattage bypass resistors. No silly switch mode power supplies to go wrong in this. So what I might do is I might pull this chassis out and give it a bit of a clean first. That's the tuner there, and this board here with that big IC will be the electronic sweep tuning, which if there's anything wrong with that I might not be able to fix it. But let's get the chassis out first and give it a good clean. Oh, another thing, check these scan coil rubbers and make sure they're nice and soft. If they've gone hard and they're black and shiny, then they're faulty, but they feel alright. Right, so let's get that chassis out a bit first. Actually, we just take a quick look underneath at the chassis. How nicely laid out it is, and everything's easy to get to. It doesn't actually look like anything's been done to this set, so there's a good possibility you might just switch it on and it works first time. Right, so that's the chassis out, enough to give it a good clean. It is actually in very, very good condition. I would imagine if there's anything wrong with it, it's probably likely to be a capacitor that smooths the video output rail, the HT rail for these red, green, blue output transistors. But we'll come to that when we turn it on. So I think for now, we'll just give it a bit of a hoover out and see how clean we can get it first. But it appears to be largely untouched. You see here the pattern of dust it leaves when you've had water running into something. The dust seems to pool up into little bits. But let's get it all hoovered out first. There's no corrosion in the focus pin on the tube neck. Nothing in there. Let's get it all hoovered out. That is the line output transistor there. And then let's see where we go from there. Right, so that's all cleaned up very nicely. Now if you have a look how well laid out it is, everything's sectioned up and labelled. That's the horizontal output. I presume them two there will be the frame output transistors, no doubt fed straight from the 112 volt HT rail. Video section. That's the set 112 volt rail. So this is so well laid out, you could probably even repair this without the service manual, because everything's so clear about it. This is what I miss about modern sets now. So I would imagine if the line transformer's alright, and we don't have any tuning problems, there's not really much to actually go wrong with this. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to clean around this anode cavity, but I'm not going to rub this with any sort of solvent, because I don't want to rub off this anti-flash. Right, that's all back together now. I could of course run this up slowly from a variac, but with a linear regulator and a HT rail of only 112 volts, I'm not even going to bother reforming the capacitor, because if it starts to draw too much current, it'll only draw it through these 282 ohm resistors in parallel. So I don't think there's going to be a big problem there. So I'm going to turn this round now, and we're going to go straight for the switch on and see what's wrong with this set, if anything at all. Right, so camera's on the tripod. Just make sure it's on, and I'm going to switch it on at the mains behind me. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I heard the EHT come up. Oh, there's a picture come up. Right, so we just need to get this to a signal source now and see if it'll tune in. But it's looking good. I think it's rolling because the hole's under there. Yeah. Right, so far so good. We've got sound as well. Just got to see if it tunes in. Now all this seems to be in German. But I think what you do is you press that, you tune it, and then you store it with that, I think. So let's give that a go first. Right, so yeah, it is what I thought. You tune it first with that, press that first, tune it first, pick your preset. So we say number 2, and then you press the red button to store it, and then press that again. So if we go to 3, stored on 2. So yeah, the electronic tune is working as well. That's a bonus. Right, so it just needs a quick tweak of the height, because that's gone off the screen. Now I might have just disturbed the control cleaning it, which is right down there at the bottom. Right, so we spoke too soon. I've just adjusted the height to get that down, and the colour's gone off. So that could be the problem with this set. Must have intermittent no chroma fault. So I think I am going to have to look out a diagram for this now. Now back in the 80s there was a set, it was actually made by Toshiba, but it was badged up Bush, and I think it was a T24 off the top of my head, and I once had a fault on one of them. It had no colour, and it looked remarkably similar to this. There was a board stood up with a chip on, and I actually changed this IC and it didn't cure the colour fault, and then I found out there was a line pulse missing to the decoder IC, and it was a high value resistor, and this looks, I'm almost certain it had a board standing up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just have a look what chips on there, because I'm at work at the moment, so without a date I'm going to have a look if we can get a data sheet on that chip. Right, so that's the Chroma panel out. That's the chip in question, TA7193P. Now I've just had a look, I still have these in stock, although I've used them in the past and they've never cured the fault. It was a resistor connected between the line transformer, feeding a pulse in here. I think it's for the bistable, but without the service manual, I'm just going to have a quick look on the internet, see if I can pull a data sheet up for that, just to give me a clue, so we can just have a quick look rather than leaving this till another day. Right, so I found what I'm looking for, the data sheet. That's jogged my memory. So what we need to do is we need to trace the flyback pulse from the line transformer to pin 4, which operates the bistable inside the IC. So all it's a matter of doing is pin 4, it's showing a resistor there of 100k. It could be different in our set, and that resistor might not be on this board, it might be somewhere on the main board, but we need to trace whatever pin 4 connects to back to the line stage. Right, so we do have a 100k resistor on this board, and it's marked R512, which is there, but that's alright. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be another one somewhere on this board connected to the line transformer, so it's just a matter of tracing on here. I think it's pin 2 on here where that goes to as it gets back to the line output transformer. Right, I found the resistor in question I'm looking for. It's R229 and it's 3k connected to pin 5 of the line transformer. Now it is slightly high in value, but I don't think it's high enough to cause a problem. But I'm just going to replace it with a brand new high stability 3k anyway, and we'll just take it from there. I might end up looking out the diagram at home tonight in my radio and TV servicing books, but let's just put that in anyway. There he says I've just disconnected one end, R229. Right, so now I get the resistor out and I've cleaned it up. I find out it's actually 3.5k. It looked like 3k was when it was in the circuit, so that's gone back in because that there's nothing wrong with it. Right, so I think for the moment I'm just going to have to come back to this. This is not going to be easy, and I'll tell you for why. If you look at where the decoder board stood up, there's no way of getting... I can get to the top of the pins here with an oscilloscope, but there's no way I can get to the pins underneath the IC, and there's no access from the back either, because that heat sink's in the way. Now I'm guessing in its day there would have been some sort of extension board that you use for servicing that. It'll be something like this for a KT3. You plug that in and then you plug your faulty board onto the top, and that lifts the board right up in the air so you can get to the back with an oscilloscope or a meter. Now I don't have one for this set, so short of making one, I think we're just going to have to play this by ear, but I'm just going to put it to one side for a minute, because we need to look out the a proper diagram for it now. But that's the problem. We can get to the top, but not the underneath of them pins. Right, so I've just tried it this morning when it's cold, and we appear to have lost the sync now, both the vertical and the horizontal sync.
It's producing one or two light showers, northern, then eastern Scotland, pushing into some eastern parts of England.
Yeah, that's the vertical hold, and it's not locking. And the horizontal hold is actually right down there. So I don't think we'll mess with that at the moment. We'll just look why the sync's disappeared, because that could very well be a clue to why the colour's disappeared. Right, so I found in my radio and TV servicing books, is it 1981-82, a Toshiba 14080B, which appears to be the same set, but this one in the book doesn't have sweep tuning, which we're not concerned about because that's working. But we do now have the circuit diagram. Now, one other thing I'll just point out is I found it very odd. We've got an aerial isolation there when it's actually fed from a transformer, but when I look at the diagram, it's actually an auto transformer it's fed from, so that's why we still need the aerial isolation, because it's a live chassis. So I'm just going to have a quick look through this diagram now, and we'll just have a look why the synchronizing signals disappeared, because it was okay when I left last night, and this morning, now it's cold, it's disappeared, which probably tends to suggest the capacitor's faulty. But I'll just have a look at that first. Right, so the most obvious cause looking at the diagram of the missing sync signal will be that coupling capacitor there, C301, 1 microfarad 50 volts. So I'm just going to change that first. Right, so I've just altered the horizontal hold a little bit, and you can see we do indeed have no sync. That's displaying colour bars now. Now it's very difficult to follow this diagram because it's all on these different pieces on different pages. So I've not actually changed that cap I was going to, because we do have a good video feed going into the sync separator. Now the obvious thing to do would be to check the power rails. Now on this, the oscillator seems to be started up through that resistor through a 10k, and then once it comes into operation, it's actually supplied from the 16 volt rail. Well, we've got 10 volts on there now. Unfortunately, it doesn't give any voltages or any waveforms in this for this particular circuit, but I've checked for the data sheet for the TA7609, and 10 volt does seem to be about the right supply rail for pin 15. So I'm wondering now if this IC's gone faulty. Now it's just a plug-in one, so providing I've got one of these in stock, it won't be a big deal to just plug a new one in. So let's go and have a look first for a TA7609P. Right, so let's have a look if I've got a TA7609P. Oh, it's about time I got a lot of this stuff in order. Right, so nothing in between them, no TA7609 in there. Let's have a look in the other room. TA. Stop the camera a minute before we fall over trying to stand up. Right, so the simple answer is TA7609, 7607, 7611. I haven't got one, so I'm going to have a look now on the internet. I mean, I might have one somewhere, because I'm just looking down here, and there's a load of TA chips in there. The thing is, most of this stuff I've got, I've never put in any order since the day I moved 9 years ago. And it would take it'd take forever to look through all these drawers. So I'm going to have a look on the internet. That's probably the easiest thing to do, and just see if I can find the new old stock one. Right, so the new old stock chips have arrived, genuine Toshiba, as you'd expect, because nobody's going to faint these, because nobody wants them anymore. Am I confident it's going to work?
It's called striatum.
Not really, because microchips are usually very reliable. But you've got to start somewhere, and as it just plugs into a socket, might as well just plug another one in and see where we go from there. Right, well that's it there. It just plugs into a socket. Now, I don't know if we've jumped the gun here, but I can see some corrosion on them pins, like that's been wet as well. So it might be just the actual socket that's faulty rather than the chip. But let's take that chip out and have a good look at it. Right, I don't know if you can, how well you can see that on the camera, but it does indeed have, let's put it on that piece of paper so it shows up better. It does indeed have rust on the pins, so it could very well be just that socket that's bad. I might just clean up this chip and try it in again, and then I'll try the new one. If that still doesn't work, we'll change the socket. But yeah, that's definitely been wet, that. So here we go, the new chip's in. Let's switch it on.
Okay, so the first piece of lead goes in. It's a 1/2 inch wide.
Ah, right, now that has cured the sync fault. We're back now to the original fault of no colour. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that up with a fiberglass pencil and just try that back in again, and just confirm if that chip is damaged or if it's the socket that we need to change. Right, so that's cleaned up the best I can get it. Let's try it back in now. Right, so the IC is back in the base. Let's turn it on.
Just work away at it like that, and then when it's gone off a wee bit, get yourself a sponge.
Right, so that's the answer. That chip is definitely faulty. The water must have got inside and damaged it internally. But I think I'm going to change that IC base first, and then just double check again that it is that chip. Yeah, shame about that. That's a nice, good quality looking base, but never mind. I'm going to put this cheap Chinese quality one in and see where we go from there. Right, so that's the new IC base soldered in there. Let's try it again. So that's the answer. Definitely, absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt, that IC is faulty. Right, let's swap the new one in now then. Right, here we go. I put the brand new chip in now. Let's turn on.
Never easy, but even so, the old steps are not playing along.
I was hoping that I could use.
Right, so the answer to that is we're back to the no colour fault now. And given that this set's had water damage now that we know for certain, let's get a light. Down there we can see, can you see there? There's another chip in holder. Now I think that's the Vision IF. I don't think that'll have anything to do with it, the no colour fault, but I'm just going to whip that chip out because that is also plugged into a 16-pin dill base. Right, so nothing to do with the other chip, and it was, as I thought, the Vision IF. So I think the best thing to do now would be to disable the colour killer and see where we go from there. Right, it's quite difficult to work on this because it's on different pages, but to disable the colour killer you connect TP43 to ground, and then if we turn over we've got to connect a 10k resistor between pin 21 and ground. So that's effectively just a 10k resistor connected across C505. So let's do that then and see what we've got. Right, so there's no obvious water damage on here, but making checks on here with it running is going to be virtually impossible without an extension board. But anyway, let's disable the colour killer. You connect pin 21 of the colour decoder IC to ground, and also TP43 to ground. And let's plug this back in now and see what we've got. Right, so there we go, that's that done. Now we've got to alter the free running the free running frequency of the reference oscillator with that pot there, R552, until them bars stand still. I hope it's that one, because if it's that one down there, that's going to be even more difficult to do. So I'm just going to stop the camera while I have a look which pot it is now. Right, well, I'm not going to show this on camera because this is going to be a disaster. The pot that we've got to alter is right down there, and as you can see, when this set's running, that means getting your hand right in there with a screwdriver. I don't think, no, it's behind that cap. I don't even think, I don't know, we might be able to get it with a very, very long screwdriver in there. I'll have a look. Actually, it's simpler than what I thought. All you need is a long screwdriver like this. And there it is, right down there. So, I think we should just be able to get that without touching the line output transistor here. We should just be able to adjust that from there. So there we go, that's the screwdriver. I can show this on camera now. So I'll turn it, that's one end, and that's the other end, and we can't find a position that locks that. You've got to wait till it's almost as steady as you can get, but we can't actually slow it down to be steady. So I'm wondering if either the potentiometer's faulty, more than likely, or one of these resistors or one of these caps is leaky. So I'll have to take that board out again now and check them. Right, so because this is split over different parts, it's easier to have a look at the data sheet. Now that's the control there for the free running oscillator frequency of the subcarrier. I've checked that pot, I've checked them two resistors, I've checked them two capacitors, I've changed that capacitor there because it had a very slight leakage. I've checked that, so all them components there are all okay, and yet we still cannot set the free running frequency. So that only leaves one possibility: this chip's faulty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out, but I'm going to put a base in just in case I'm wrong and it's not that. Right, so that's the chip we're going to be replacing. I've fitted a base in there. I've just got to clean off that flux there very, very carefully, so we don't rub any of that white or green stuff off. Right, there we go. So for cleaning this, I've used IPA. It's not as aggressive as proper flux remover. Right, let's get a chip in there and see what happens. Right, so that's the new chip fitted. Let's take the screwdriver out and see if we can set up the free running speed again.
Simon, welcome.
Thank you.
So what do you do in your spare time? Have you got an allotment?
No, I don't. Fitness training, circuit training.
All right.
Flipping tyres, squats, all that sort of stuff.
Last man standing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's working.
Bit nervous. I was hoping I was going to say sport across there.
You hope you say sports?
Yeah.
Is that your thing?
Yeah, hot ball.
So, it's not...
Right, you can see it's running down, and if we turn the pot the other way, it's running up. So what we need is a central position where it's almost stationary.
The one and only. We are looking for things that there are only one of. Anything that there
which
are
is there.
two or more
So
of
that's it.
is
We've
a lie.
achieved colour lock now. So now I've got to take off the 10k resistor and the wire link.
Time starts.
Right, so just remove them now, and that should be alright now. Right, so that's them removed. Let's plug that back in now. This should come straight on colour. Right, so that's the board in. I've put the little clamp on top there. Let's set up the camera there and switch it on.
Time starts now.
Oh, look at that. Absolutely perfect.
Opens up.
Let's just switch the
Number one,
skybox out of colour bar mode.
and marriages. And English monarchs named John.
I'll go for famous.
Go with your gut.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that for a picture. What a tally.
That opens up. Summer Olympic
Absolutely
Games, boycott
perfect
by
colour on that.
August bank holidays in England, Red Rum Grand National.
Let's just put it on the home screen. Have a look at focusing as well.
Truth or lie? That is a truth. There's only one that opens up.
Dizzy Rascal.
Dizzy Rascal.
Yeah, perfect focusing. If anything, there's a little bit too much colour, but I can't turn it down because the control's inside. But I like plenty of colour anyway. Yeah, but yeah, what a tally that is. Right, so that's it. I haven't actually got the back on yet. It's a right awkward thing to get in because it's got to slide into some grooves at the back. But because I might just have to tweak the grayscale a little tiny bit. Is that better? No. Let's put the light back on. So I mean, I like plenty of colour, but that's probably not to everybody's taste. So let's turn it down a bit now. I can get to the control under there. So we go right down to black and white. Well, actually, grayscale's not that bad. That's probably a pretty good picture there. Let's just put the camera down while I switch that on.
Please reveal the next row.
And there we go. What a result. But who would have thought that you'd have had two chips faulty? Because if you remember, this set, it switched on and it came on and I tuned it in, it had colour. Then the colour went off. I switched it off, I went home. I came back the next day, I switched it on in the morning, done absolutely nothing to it. And the line syncs disappeared. So who would have thought them two chips would have gone just like that, considering that this first switched on when I had it. Perhaps John Joe can fill us in on the history of this set. I would imagine it's been found at the side of somebody's dustbin in the rain, and he's probably picked it up and taken it home and dried it out. But yeah, that's absolutely perfect.
Welcome to the final crossing.
Alright guys and girls on YouTube, many thanks for watching my video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Right, so I'm just on my way home. As you can see, I've had no customers at all because it's snowing. Alright everybody, I'll catch you in the next video.